Hi everyone. So we're going to answer another question here, and it's from Lee. So hi Lee, if you're watching. Lee asked, she wanted to know my thoughts on dehydrators, and I thought that was a fantastic question too. All good questions you people have. Awesome. So you guys, my thoughts about dehydrators is I agree with them, but I also disagree with them. And I do know, I'm seriously, I'm not against dehydrators at all. If you guys want to use dehydrators, that is totally fine. Like I always say, whatever floats your little raw boat, whatever floats your plant-based boat, whatever floats your little vegan boat, you know, whatever you guys want. I know for me personally, I do not have a dehydrator, and I don't plan on getting one, but as far as the hydrators go, I agree with them, but I mainly disagree with them. I agree, but I disagree, but I mainly disagree with them. But I do know a lot of raw foodies out there have dehydrators, and they use them, and they create a lot of interesting raw meals and raw food items, you know, that you really kind of can't do without a dehydrator and everything, and it's still actually classified as raw. And so that kind of goes into another thing is, I know dehydrators are really popular because you can still make a lot of delicious, well, everybody knows about the crackers and chips and your own dried fruits and like breads, like not actual bread, but I mean imitation type bread, but it's raw, using raw produce ingredients and pulp and stuff like that. And it's pretty amazing what you can do with dehydrators, but it dehydrates the food enough to where it changes the texture also, but it's not heated above a certain temperature to where the food becomes dead and it becomes bad. Because all of us raw foodies, or all you raw foodies out there, you guys know that there's a certain temperature that there is a cutoff point to how hot you, or how much heat you can put in your produce before it starts changing its molecular structures and everything, and it actually creates damage in the body actually. And it's kind of interesting when you look it up. It's what was it? I wrote it down here. Oh, 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit is the cutoff point, the cutoff temperature for heating your raw foods. And I just generally looked this up on the internet, you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not the health expert at all. I don't claim to be, and I don't want to be. Just answering your guys' questions and giving you guys my thoughts and opinions on it. But at those temperatures, that is the cutoff point where, let's say I wrote it down, raw foodists believe that any raw plant foods heated above this temperature will start, the raw foods will start to lose their nutritional value and are less bioavailable. So that's what I looked up on the internet. That's what the internet said, kind of everywhere I looked, and I agree with it. I totally 100% agree with that. And because I know it makes sense that there's a certain amount of heat where the enzymes and all the nutrition can only be heated to so far before it actually starts dying and becomes dead. And because that's one really bad thing about consuming cooked foods is it actually changes what were they saying, like it's the molecular cell structures in the food, or the chemical composition in the food or something like that, and the body recognizes that, and it actually does more harm to your body. It does harm to your body. So that's why it's really good not to eat cooked foods and heat above a certain temperature. And that's why I think dehydrators are so darn popular, is because raw foodies, if you're wanting to stay raw, you can still warm up your foods like actually warm up your foods and create other crispy crackers and chips and everything, but it's still considered raw, it hasn't lost all of its nutrients or anything. I agree with dehydrators because I believe they do help assist in your raw food diet long term. I know in this today's day and age, a lot of people have a hard time staying raw because coming off a standard American diet, the cooked foods and processed foods, it seems almost nearly impossible for people to get through those cravings and those cravings for crunchy, the textures that they once used to enjoy and everything. And so they need something to back up on. They need something to help assist them along the way. And so I think dehydrators are a good way of doing that because, like I kind of just mentioned there, you can make all sorts of raw goodies, interesting raw meals and everything. Like everybody knows about TannyRaw. She's like the creator of crackers and everything, raw crackers. Well, from what I've understood, there was a time where dehydrators kind of just blew up on the internet. It's like everybody's got dehydrators making all these raw crackers and chips and dried fruits and breads and all this fancy stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we into now, raw foodies? And it's just kind of interesting. But yeah, you can make crackers and chips and your own dehydrated fruits, and then you can make okay, of course, a lot of people know about cinnamon rolls, dehydrating bananas into cinnamon rolls, and you can make doughy type textures out of your fruit. And then you can of course dehydrate your tomatoes and use your leftover pulp from your juice and everything to assist in making your crackers or whatever you want. And then there's actual bread, what they call bread, but it's like thin cracker type bread, but it's kind of interesting what you can do, and it's still all considered raw. So that I think really can help a lot of people. And I think it also assists with the satiation because a lot of people I know have a hard time being satiated on a raw foods diet, especially in the beginning. But even kind of long term, it seems like I've seen a lot of raw foodies kind of not going backwards or anything, but they're just kind of wanting to experiment with dehydrators and stuff. And one thing they do say is that when they dehydrate or eat more dehydrated food, there's more satiation, which kind of makes sense because you're taking the water out of the food, and so the food is becoming more denser, and so there's a lot more satiation there. But I think with this, it provides more satiation in a sense, like you can have your salad or your fruit meal, but a lot of people want to have their own raw crackers or raw sweet cookies or something that they made in the dehydrator, and they want to have that on the side for a little extra satiation. And dehydrators also help you utilize all your extra produce if you don't compost or anything, which of course that's something I think you should always do, is compost for sure into your garden if you have a garden, or do it over the winter time if you're in a cold climate and everything. And I think because especially when there's a lot of produce that's kind of going bad, or especially when you juice a lot, there's a lot of extra pulp, and a lot of people like using the extra pulp, which helps assist in making crackers. There's this whole thing about dehydrators making crackers and stuff, but you can make like what they call, raw food is called pizza dough, and you can actually make pizzas in your dehydrator, raw pizzas, and you can kind of actually heat up your raw foods a little bit if you're desiring something warm. If you're someone who can't eat room temperature foods and you want to stay raw, that's a good way of kind of heating up your food a little bit, and it's still warming up your food and still kind of keeping it fully raw too. And I think another reason why a lot of people kind of use them, and I agree with too, is because it's something fun to do. There's a lot of people enjoy that act of preparing their meal or creating a new creation of food with different flavors, spices, herbs, and everything, different textures. And so using a dehydrator kind of helps assist with being the chef. Like, you know, God has called us all to be, He's given us each one of us different gifts and talents, and there are people who are gifted at being chefs, gifted at making recipes and different delicious meals, and it just comes easy and simple with to them. Like, that's one thing I see. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of the Raw Boy. I think his name is Neto, or but he goes by the Raw Boy. He's on Instagram and he's on YouTube, and he's got a big following. And him, I can tell his gift is being a chef. I mean, he loves to create new creations, and he's raw, but he's also cooked, but he provides both raw versions and cooked versions, and so it's very healthy meals and dinner ideas he creates. Loads of different ones, and it's like, how do you come up with all those different recipes? That is amazing. But it's just something he loves to do all day long. And so when you have something that just makes you tick every day, that you look forward to every day, that gives you happiness, peace, and joy inside, and you just love doing it all the time, that is definitely your gift. And that is one thing. Yeah, there are a chunk of people on this planet that are gifted at being chefs, you know, and that's just something that they love to do. And so I think there are some people, that's why I think dehydrators are can help assist in this day and age with people like that, because then they can create all these different raw creations to share with everybody, and it helps a majority, if not all people, with actually eating healthier every day, trying to eat healthier every day, you know. Because I think everybody just really enjoys creating something new too, coming up with that new next best thing, you know. And of course there's always our favorites that we always gravitate to and that we desire and everything, but it's always fun to create something new or experiment with something new, and it's just all around fun. So the reasons why I disagree with dehydrators is, number one, it's not our natural way, really, natural way of eating. Our natural way of eating is eating the produce straight from the plant with its water intact, and dehydrators actually defeat the purpose of a raw foods diet when you think about it. When you think about it, it kind of does, because it's taking the water out of the produce, and when we eat, we are banking on having that water in there too. And I think at the same time, when you dehydrate the water out, you're also taking some nutrients out as well. So the nutritional value of the produce that it once used to have is a little bit less. But it depends on how much you really care about it, though. But I mean, it's just kind of interesting when you think about it. That's really not our natural way, and it just really kind of defeats the purpose of a raw foods diet when you think about it. And that's one main reason why I don't have a dehydrator, is because every time when I first heard about dehydrators, I was seeing all these cool things people were doing with dehydrators. I'm like, wow, that's neat. I wouldn't mind trying that. But then it just kept coming to me like, you know what? It defeats the purpose of a raw foods diet. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I know for me personally, I most certainly do eat dehydrated fruits too, and I actually dehydrate kind of my own fruits, but I just let it air dry on the countertop, and I don't do that a whole lot. But I mean, I have blenders and juicers. I still use those too, and so in a sense you can say juicers and blenders kind of defeat the purpose of a raw foods diet in a sense too, because that's not our natural way. But it's all up to you how far you want to take your health, and these are tools to help assist you in helping you make progress to the goals that you want in your life and in your health and everything. And whatever helps you, you know, it's there to help guide you, to help assist you, you know, to get to the goal that you want to get to. And if your goal is to just kind of stay right where you're at, and you want to use dehydrators and juicers and blenders, and that's as far as more natural, that's as natural as you want to go and everything, then that's fine. It's all up to you. And dehydrators, It's just another expensive unit in your kitchen. It's just another unit in your kitchen, and that's one thing about a raw foods diet is when you go raw or even healthy or plant-based, a lot of people think you have to invest in all these expensive equipment, all this expensive equipment and tools and utensils and stuff, when that is not needed. A raw foods diet is the most simplest way to eat, of course, for our body, but I mean, it's easy for us on the exterior of our body, you know? We're not required to use juicers or blenders or prep our meals or dehydrate our food just to make a meal palatable to consume it. When you eat a raw foods diet, we're meant to eat the fruit and the vegetables, nuts and seeds, and leafy greens straight from the plant. It's as simple as walking in that beautiful jungle or wherever we're at. If you think naturally, that's what we would go for, is the fruit. It would be mono meals, and we just pick it and eat it. Simple as that. And yeah, we'd probably be gathering foods also, but in kind of combining some foods every now and then, but we wouldn't really be actually seriously dehydrating our foods and really blending our foods together and really juicing and extracting the plants or anything. It'd be simple, and we'd eat it with the fiber and water intact and everything, and that's, I think, our most natural way. But it just adds more, it just takes up more space in your kitchen also. And I mean, we are beings who want things easy. A lot of us know that coming off of cooked foods and the standard way of eating, you see how much kitchen slavery you were in. You know, you were just like strapped to the kitchen for at least like an hour, hour and a half, and you have tons and loads of dishes to do. And that's one thing everybody complains about and hates about: waiting to eat, waiting and prepping, and then having to do all this work just to have your meal, when it's not supposed to be that way. There's a reason why that festers on us and that makes us upset and frustrated, because that's not our natural way. When we're hungry, we want to eat now. We want to eat when we are hungry. We don't want to wait an hour, hour and a half and do all this work and then eat. And that's why I believe God made it so simple for us. And it's so delicious the way it is, by picking it straight from the plant. That's simple and easy, and you can move on with your day. You feel a lot better, you're a lot happier, you got a lot less work to do, and it's all around good. And using dehydrators, from what I've seen from other raw foodies who use them, is it takes a long time to create your crackers or chips or cinnamon rolls or whatever it is. You have to essentially do it a day or two before you're going to have the meal, because dehydrators, they say takes 8 to 16 or even 24 hours to dehydrate, because it's using low temperatures to dehydrate, to take out the water. So it needs long periods of time to dehydrate in order to keep it raw and everything. But it just takes a long time. It takes a long time to create something, from what I've seen, and I'm just not into that. And in a sense, you can kind of get addicted to it, because the more you have the crackers and the cookies or the dehydrated foods, the more you start gravitating to that denser satiation, which is, I believe, is your past habits creeping into your new raw foods way of life, that you're trying to get back to your natural way. So your old habits are creeping into your new habits, and you're trying to stop the old habits, but it seems like we're trying to recreate, just in a healthier version, the foods we once used to love and enjoy. And when really on a natural foods diet, it's so enjoyable in its simple natural state. It's just, I think we're still wanting to, we still have that habit of needing to prepare things and needing to add all these ingredients and cook it this amount. We're trying to mimic what we were trying to get away from the beginning, you know, from what we were brought up on. And This is just like a plant-based, healthier version of that, you know, kind of in a sense. And so in a way, you just kind of get addicted to those crackers and those chips and dried fruits, and that's not good, because that can lead to long-term problems too. Because that's one thing I know, dental oral health is we run into problems when the food starts sticking to our teeth. When the food, and that's why raw foods are so good. You can consume all the fruit sugars and everything and not have any problems, because the fruit has the water intact, so the fruit is not sticking to your teeth. But the moment we start eating dried fruits and dried foods, that stuff starts sticking to our teeth, and you can start running into problems. So problems start arising when mankind steps in, when we start tampering with the produce that God has created perfectly in the beginning. And when mankind steps in and starts tampering things, all heck breaks loose, you know. Problems start arising. So, but I mean, it's all up to you, you guys. That's all up to you. Those are just my thoughts and opinions on dehydrators. For me, I mainly disagree with them, but if it helps you stay raw and that's something you enjoy doing and using in your raw foods diet, that is awesome for you. That is so cool for you. Kudos to you, you know, that's wonderful. Keep doing that if that works for you. I know for me, I know that probably that does not work for me, so I stay away from that. And I don't want to add more utensils. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. And so all I have is like a juicer and a blender. And I do have a food processor, chopper, and a hand blender and stuff, but I rarely use that though too, because you kind of just, it seems like the longer you're raw, the more you gravitate to just mono meals and the more simple dinners, you know, especially when it comes to dinner time, kind of more simple. You still enjoy some savory mixtures, you know, dressings and stuff, and but you kind of just all in all get less ingredients, and you just desire to eat sometimes fruit all day, and then just maybe a head of lettuce, and that's it, you know, and then to munch on some celery or munch on some cauliflower or munch on some cucumbers every now and then, and that's kind of all you really start desiring. And it's really interesting how the longer you are, the more your body starts changing, and your past habits start dwindling away. But it's just kind of interesting when you think about it. But okay guys, so I will stop babbling here, guys. Okay, I'll stop babbling. Remember to love being raw, you guys. Put a big old smile on your face today. I hope I did that for you, and I'll see you guys next video. Okay, bye guys.